Welcome to the Dynasty Vipers Sunday Night Football Weekend Review Show, where we come every Sunday night football here, kind of talk about what has happened, break down the games for you real quick. I guess we kind of got too ahead of ourselves because Travis Kelce is rumbling and tumbling down to about the 10-yard line. The Chiefs are marching here, and we look like, I'm trying to catch it here. Is there a flag? Yeah, there is definitely a flag, but it looks like it's probably on Denver here. We wanted to try and get the show up. I honestly believe, even though it's Kansas City, I did not think they'd be striking as quickly as they did here. So we tried to fire up the show a little bit quicker than normal. Just a reminder, the Dynasty Vipers, we are sponsored by Manscaped. Quickly head over there and check it out. You want to get yourself a little bit of grooming. Make sure you don't nick your dick here. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off and free shipping with code ViperCast20. It is ViperCast20 as the code as we continue to watch Travis Kelce march down the field on the replay here. Calvin, crazy week ahead of us here that we just kind of went through. If you're making that push to get in the playoffs, there are some big-time players that you really hope would push you over the top that did not perform today. And one of them is my boy Wonder, which we'll get into that breakdown a little bit later there in Justin Herbert, who absolutely crushed me in a couple leagues right now that I was very high on him. Right now, again, Sunday Night Football, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City marching here. If you're not watching, you're catching us for some reason instead of the game, I'll definitely update you as we go. We're going to start off here the show here as quickly as we possibly can here with the Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins. Calvin, break that down for us, bud.
Yeah, we're going to start off with the ugliest game of the day, I think, right here with this Cincinnati Bengals, Miami Dolphins. Couple of notes. So Tyler Boyd goes out and his 70, 80-yard touchdown, ends up with 14.2 points, but then gets thrown out of the game for throwing a punch. What are you thinking? What are you doing, Tyler Boyd? Could the game have gone differently if Tyler Boyd had stayed in? I'm not really sure. This was really ugly. Cincinnati confirmed that we don't want to be starting anybody from the Bengals anytime soon. Ryan Finley even got in this game. He completed all of his passes. The problem is one of them went for an interception. It was just completely ugly. Miami side, Tua got loose a little bit, got to throw the ball 39 times, but a conservative game plan, didn't really get to just really unleash what he can do, kind of hoping he can at some point. Mike Gesicki, amazing catch, had a great day, tied it to a guy that you're going to talk about later is the only one that one-upped him this week. Gaskin is back, and hey, Lynn Bowden got a little 5-touch, 555-yard performance.
It was right. If you watch the pregame and the trash talk leading up to it, Xavier Howard actually said he was going to erase Tyler Boyd from the game. Probably not what he had in mind, but it did the job as after that 72-yard touchdown, Boyd didn't do nothing. So congratulations, Xavier Howard, for living up to your word and shutting down Tyler Boyd after that big touchdown pass. Tua, not all yards are created equal, just shy of 300 in that one. Moving along here, we're going to go Raiders, Jets. Boy, I don't even know where to begin on this one. So let's just break it down. Carr to Waller was the connection, was the Tyreek Hill of this week, where Waller had 13 catches in 200 yards of Derek Carr's 381 and 3 touchdowns, where Waller obviously hauled in 2 of those himself. If you started Ruggs, you were probably incredibly disappointed until about 6 seconds left in the game, where he came down with that 46-yard bomb in zero coverage. They were playing 0-man coverage on the back end. That is your ultimate tank design. 30 teams in the league would be throwing some sort of 4-deep safety kind of approach on that. Not the Jets. Not saying they purposely lost this one, but it's hard to kind of believe anyways. Your boy there, Ty Johnson, 22 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown. Good on him. Browns, Titans, what do you got?
Yeah, and just Darren Waller had the 6th best fantasy football tight end week ever, according to Tristan Cockcroft on Twitter. So that was really cool to see. Cleveland, Tennessee, we talked a lot about this matchup going in. It was going to be the running backs, Chubb, Henry. Instead, it was the quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, both of them had really good games. Baker with almost 30 points. Tannehill not too far behind him to the QB2 and the QB3 so far for this week. Corey Davis season continues. Monster game, 11 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. He's your wide receiver 1 so far. And as I said, Henry really could never get going. Hunt, we're going to have to really look into that. I want to talk to Jeff this week and figure out if he still thinks he's just hampered by the injury. That's the biggest thing that we're worried about. Chubb with a decent day. Higgins did good. And, really interesting. I called Baker Mayfield a good play this week. Not to toot my own horn, but,
Big whoop-de-doo, 4 touchdowns. This is Corey Davis season. You know me, ride or die. We talked about this on the show, the Start and Sit show last night. I said put Corey Davis in. You always put Corey Davis in during Corey Davis season. Wide receiver 1 for the week. And, boy, I think 99% of fantasy Twitter missed on Derrick Henry this week because this was one of those games you thought that the running back games would be getting going here. Receivers probably wouldn't have got so much in there. Michael Pruitt was the top performing tight end in this matchup with those 2 touchdowns. Lions, Bears, boy, oh boy. My boy, Mitch Trubisky, 267 yards, got that touchdown, protected the ball. Lions ended up winning this game 34-30, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Stafford threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 pick. We said start Hawkinson, 7 catches, 84 yards. My boy, Peterson, we talked about it. Even though Hakeem Hicks was in the lineup there, it didn't matter because Peterson still had 16 for 57, but he had those 2 touchdowns. So if you put him in your lineup like I did in a couple leagues out of desperation, you're looking like a genius. It's not that you're a genius. I was just desperate, okay? Marvin Jones, 8 catches, 116 yards with the touchdown. Funny thing, Detroit talked about all week how they wanted to get the younger players in. That's why they cut Marvin Hall. First pass of the game, Mohamed Sanu. Congratulations. Saints, Falcons.
Yeah, and don't forget David Montgomery is your RB1 so far this week, and he's got another great matchup next week. Saints, Falcons. This was Taysom Hill's best game. I mean, obviously, I've been talking a lot about Taysom Hill. Right now, another top 12 performance. Really like to see what we're getting out of him right now.
Yes.
Latavius Murray is back to a third.
Keep going. Here we go. I'm back. David Montgomery, 17 carries, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 2 touchdowns. That's 2 touchdowns for David Montgomery, as well as chipping into the passing game of 4 catches and 39 yards. No idea what just happened there. Kind of lost myself. Router, something, squirrels chewing on the ether cables. I don't know what's going on. But what I do know is you're going to talk about Saints and Falcons.
Yeah, somebody trying to backdoor the Canadian up there. It didn't go well. So Saints.
Not in the frozen Dungus hole.
Saints Falcons. This was really so. Taysom Hill had his best game as a pro. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to say that. Now it is against Atlanta. We're really curious to see how he does next week. But look, Michael Thomas, he's a top 12 wide receiver right now. Alvin Kamara, top 8 running back right now. We were very worried about them. Hey, they came through. Maybe they're not the number 1, number 2 guy that we necessarily thought as long as Taysom Hill is in there, but hey, they still performed for us, did really well. Double-digit targets for Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. Really tight, contested game that we said, and the Saints pulled one out. We'd like to see that. 2 touchdowns allowed total in the last 5 games. That's a defense you don't want to see in the fantasy playoffs.
Agreed. It's going to be a tough out anytime you go against them here. Speaking of tough outs, there was no tough outs here. We're talking Jags and we're talking Vikings here. 2 of the 3 front runners, so to speak, for the rookie of the year. Number 3 did not have a good day, but numbers 2 and 3, so to speak, and Justin Jefferson and James Robinson, they performed incredibly well. Justin Jefferson found the end zone there, 9 catches, 121 yards, and that touchdown. His competition, so to speak, for the award, James Robinson, 18 carries, 78 yards, added a touchdown, also added 6 catches for 30 yards on top of it. So both of them had well over 100 yards all-purpose and a touchdown. Difference in this one was the Vikings did not have Mike Glennon, who threw for 280 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and a fumble. Anyone else? Colin Johnson, you got desperate. You put him in your lineup as a flex. We recommended that. 4 catches, 66 yards. DJ Chark, we were on the fence with. Only 2 catches for 41. On the flip side, Kirk Cousins, non-prime time, 305 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but he did also fumble the ball as well. Delvin Cook was one of the few people who was cooking this week, going for 120 yards and 6 for 59 yards in the receiving game. And Adam Thielen, 8 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown. Boy, when you have a 3-headed monster like Jefferson, Thielen, and Delvin Cook, you get a lot of things going. It is very shocking that the Vikings didn't blow the Jags out, but I said this was an upset special. I did think the Jags were going to win this game to begin with. So covering it was definitely not much of a surprise in my books. Speaking of not big of a surprise, Colts Texans, hit me.
Yeah, they came really close. 38 touches is too many for Dalvin Cook. Come on. What are we doing? Colts, Texans. Yeah, hey, T.Y. Hilton. We talked about him a lot. I'm excited that he had a great game. Brought him up on Wednesday. Yeah, T.Y. Let's go. Right now, he is the wide receiver 5. He kills the Texans. He does it every time. We got to keep trusting that. Michael Pittman kind of took a back seat in this one. Jonathan Taylor got a score through the air on a nice design play off to the right down the sideline there. That one looked really good. Hines got in the end zone as well. Kiki Cutie. There's a guy named Seth Payne on Twitter who had a tweet that I love. It said, Kiki Cutie spent 2.5 years in Bill O'Brien's doghouse on a false conviction. 8 catches, 141 receiving yards on 9 targets. Wide receiver 7 right now. Love to see that. And, love to see this Colts victory and what we're seeing in the AFC South. Good stuff.
So my mic was on mute there. Don't fact check me here, but when you have Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, you'd expect at some point to have 2 receivers with over 100 yards. I may be wrong on this, but I don't think Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller both had 100 yards in a single game together all season. Kiki Kuti, Chad Hansen, both over 100 yards for the Texans today. Who would have thunk it? Speaking of games you would have thunk, the Giants knocked off the Seahawks. Now, a lot of people were out there giving the Seahawks and trying to burying the Giants here. I was not one of them. I said this Giants defense has been improving vastly. It kind of, offensively speaking, it kind of went the way we thought. Not much going on the offense except for Wayne Gallman and his 135 yards rushing. On the flip side, Russell Wilson, he was definitely not cooking. In fact, I think he was ordering Uber Eats today because he only threw for 263 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. My boy, Chris Carson, however, had 65 yards on the ground, 3 catches for 45. So he did break the century mark there when it came for all-purpose yards. He was probably the Seahawks' best player. Add in some DK Metcalf, 5 for 80, and a little Tyler Lockett there, 6 for 63. And they got a little bit of offense there, but the Giants' defense, they look pretty good out there. What do you think about the Giants' D?
I think Russell Wilson's going to have to wait another year, before he starts getting MVP votes. So let's stop talking about that. Moving on to the Rams and the Cardinals. That is a Cam Akers, not Akers, pronounce his name right, Cam Akers week. He gets a breakout. He's top 12. He's an RB1 right now. 93 yards, hangs a touchdown out here on the Cardinals on a pretty good defense. That was not expected. Goff, QB5 this week. Hey, he's actually kind of starting to turn things around. Really nice schedule. Expect that to continue. On the other side, there's just not a lot going right for the Arizona Cardinals right now. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, but really didn't produce a ton of fantasy points for you. Only 15 yards on the ground. He needs to get that going if they're going to have a chance to do a lot. And hey, he's the one that gets to go play that first place Giants defense next week.
That's going to be fun to watch here because, I'm going to be hesitant putting him in my lineup just because of that. We saw what they just did to Russell Wilson. What do you think they're going to do to someone who's struggling right now? So, speaking of struggles, the struggle was real in LA today for the Chargers. And it's not because the New England Patriots offense was rolling, because clearly they weren't nothing special themselves there. The Patriots, if you look at that, Cam Newton, 14 carries for 48 yards. His passing wasn't much better. He did have a touchdown in the air as well as 2 on the ground. Gunner had 1 catch for 38 yards and a touchdown. And in those leagues where you put those special teamers in, 3 punt returns, 145 yards and a touchdown. He was your player of the game in this one. Now add into a little bit of fact, N'Keal Harry with a touchdown. And we can keep on rolling for another week there, Calvin. Justin Herbert, this was the first time that he's played that he has failed to either have 300 yards passing or multiple touchdowns in a game. That is crazy for me to think that. Austin Eckler, he finished with 209 and 2 picks. Austin Eckler was not the Eckler that we saw last week. 8 carries, 36 yards, 4 catches for 32. Keenan Allen, 5 catches for 48. He had the third Gilmore sister on him there. Lorelai and Roy were really proud of brother Stephon there this week, so kudos to him. Hunter Henry, where have you gone? Really? 1 catch for 5 yards? You're dead to me. You are dead to me as far as fantasy goes. My one home league just killed me today. Killed me. Hunter Henry. Justin Herbert, that stack was not going well for me. Eagles, Packers.
Cam Newton had 24 more passing yards than the Patriots had points in this game. That is usually not good, but I guess in this one that worked out. So forget Corey Davis season. It's Matt Donnelly season right now. Cam Akers and Jalen Reagor getting big play this week. That was really nice to see in that afternoon slate of games. Reagor wound up with 17.5 points, had that punt return touchdown. It really was only one catch that he got, but got in the end zone on the punt return. So that was really nice to see. Dallas Goedert, nice day for him. Other than that, the biggest story, obviously, is Jalen Hurts has entered our fantasy lives. Is that going to continue? We're going to have to wait and see. Doug Peterson was non-committal after the game, and so we'll be watching for that. But, yeah, they clearly, with that offensive line, Jalen Hurts is going to give them the best chance to win. He's able to moves around. That interception at the end, really not his fault. Arm got knocked at the end. Unbelievable play.
If that was Carson Wentz and his arm got knocked there, we would be blasting Carson Wentz for throwing that pick. You know it. I know it. Twitter should know it. I don't care who you are. You can be Carson Wentz. I'm not saying that he's not to blame for part of this, but guess what? He got sacked like 4 times. Jalen Hurts, who's way more mobile, who's the guy that we think can move the pocket, was also sacked for 3. The problem isn't who the quarterback is. It's that offensive line. It's 11 different combinations in 12 weeks. 11 different offensive line combinations, 12 weeks. You're not going to win many games with that.
The most popular person in the world is the backup QB. You know
Absolutely.
that. I know that. And hey, Jalen Hurts is Doug Peterson wants to use him. You know who he doesn't want to use? Miles Sanders. I don't know and I understand what's going on with him, but here's the deal. As long as Miles Sanders is in this situation, we got to stop talking about Miles Sanders being a top 5 dynasty pick. He's not going to be a top 5 startup pick. We just got to come to that realization as a fantasy community that he is not in that situation. Situations change, and if you want to bet on the talent, now's a good time if you want to buy him, but that's ultimately unreal. Hey, that Aaron Jones run, what about that? That was awesome. That was one of the better runs. Reminded me of a Happy Meal version of that Marshawn Lynch Beastquake run. It was awesome. It was great to see.
Speaking of runs, Le'Veon Bell just picked up about 10 to 15 yards on this last run. We're running out of time here. So we got Washington and Pittsburgh Monday Night Football. We got the Bills, 49ers Monday Night Football. You got the doubleheader. And then we got Tuesday Night Football with Dallas and Baltimore. For Calvin and Hobby, I'm Matt Donnelly, Dingus4. Check out my pin tweet. Donate if you can. Who cares about Rashawn Gary? He's a nobody. So let's just keep on rolling. I would have got 3 sacks today if I was playing against the Eagles. And we gone.
That's a real analyst.